All right, what's up, you beautiful motherfuckers? You guys know I love you, and I wanted to bring you some good shit today. I got my man Jeff J. Hunter here, who's got an awesome looking hat besides being awesomely attractive. I wanted to bring him in. One of the things I've lectured you guys on over the years is retention is really what your agency is. If you don't have retention, like all these people focused on sales only are focused on the wrong number. And one of the things I loved about Jeff's VA staffer is he's got an agency where they're actually supplying all of us fine folks with virtual assistants and doing a lot to add value in the process, pre-training them, getting them ready, arming them for all the basic tasks you guys need, and doing it in a way where 95% of the people who reach out and get a virtual assistant for him are still doing it a year later, which is really the ultimate sign that he's doing something right.
Updated number, by the way, is 97 97.14.
Terrible.
Retention rate of 97.14.
Well, we want to know what happened to those other 3%. Also, Jeff and I have some pretty similar views on the insanity of the world. Lots of you guys have talked to us about that privately. Usually I don't try to make the group about that, but I'm sure a lot of you guys know and are feeling it too. And Jeff's also just a badass, and he's in the crypto space, and he just told me he got connected with Digital Marketer. A little quick funny story about that. My first experience with Digital Marketer, I got Ryan Dice off in the corner. Like, when it's their event, they're usually like just swamped with people, but I caught him in the corner away from everybody. And I told him, just a couple of ways he had impacted my life and said, I'm giving you a big bro hug. So I gave Ryan Dice a bro hug, and I made sure just to make it awkward and unnatural. And this is
I was going to say, because I know Ryan very well, and I know he's a huge introvert, and there was a reason why he was in that corner by himself.
Yeah. Funny thing is, though, after about 10, 15 seconds of awkward hug, I went to let go, and he was like, no, we're doing this, bro. And he held on an extra 10 or 15 seconds and gave it right back. So that's my experience with Digital Marketer. Anyways, first of all, Jeff, welcome, and thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Frankie. Yeah, I appreciate the intro. Yeah, it's crazy because much like you guys, I'm actually an agency owner. I own 2 agencies. I own 2 businesses that pretty much run themselves. Yeah. One is the VA staffer business. That's the virtual assistant company. And the other one is Branded Media, which is a personal branding agency. And you're right. It wasn't until 2018 when I kind of switched my focus away from, getting new clients to just keeping the ones that I have really freaking happy and then adding additional value, right? Value added services.
Yeah.
So like, if I'm working with someone and I help them have, if I have a virtual assistant for a client, for example, usually that means they have a business that's growing and scaling and they can't keep up with the work. So I'm always adding additional, ways to how can we help this person more? And not only is our average client staying with us for years with a huge retention rate, but our LTV typically doubles at 6 months, our lifetime value. And the reason why is because about 3 to 6 months into our relationship, they say, wow, this virtual assistant's working out really well. I need another one. Yeah. So we literally double LTV. And we have one client right now. They've been on board with us for, I want to say one year, maybe 1 year and 3 months or so. And you want to talk about an LTV, they are now my number 1 client. And I've built out an entire army of virtual assistants for their business called Nations Lending. It's a mortgage lender. And I think we're almost on our 50th virtual assistant for that company. 50.
I'm actually kind of blown away that because I've experienced the same thing. Like some of my lawyers who 3 years ago would say, I would never use a virtual assistant in all these like very traditional businesses. And now they're like, please, man, you got anybody? Like, how do I hire people on this? And it seems like correct me if I'm wrong, I want to do a deep dive with you in this in a second, but it sounds like you're getting a lot of your people from the Philippines, which is where I predominantly hire as well, usually because good, nice people, honorable English. Every now and then you get a typhoon that fucking totally ruins your business for a couple of days. But other than that, it's a really beneficial experience, especially once you learn how to hire them, how to systematize the training and those kind of things. Love to hear your thoughts just on the people there specifically and why you go after that region.
Yeah. Well, first off, I mean, they have a really strong, good culture fit with America. Um, and I hate to say it, but Americans don't really like to work. So, in the Philippines, they have a really strong work ethic, really strong. And I'm not, it's not that the Philippines, it's not like I'm exclusively in the Philippines. I do have people that are not in the Philippines, but I'm looking for three main things when I hire somebody. One, their adaptability. How fast are they able to learn something new? The second is, what does their work ethic look like? Do they show up? Are they reliable? For example, before we hit the record button, you saw my assistant Jacqueline join the Zoom call because she wasn't exactly sure what this was about. So she was here to take notes for the call. She was actually early to the call. So she was on here, and she even starts her work shift an hour before I even wake up to go through my emails. So when I wake up, she's got like 2 or 3, like, hey, I've done all your emails. Here's a couple that need your attention. So work ethic and reliability. The third one, this is one people overlook a lot. Give a damn. Do they give a damn? Because one of the things that I'll tell you, and why I don't actually hire virtual assistants. So imagine my agency now has over 150 virtual assistants. We hired 11 people last month. We're typically hiring 11 to 15 people a month. We don't hire virtual assistants. What we do, because the problem is that when people come to me and they say, I'm a virtual assistant, I'm looking for a job, or they want to take me on as a client, I've already know at that point that they've been trained incorrectly, because they've been trained to do what's called freelancing, right? So like they're working for multiple clients, they're juggling a bunch of client work. They never really are committed and dedicated to you. So not saying they can't do a good job, because they can, but you are not their priority, right? Their bank account's their priority. So what I do is I go out and technically I don't do this anymore. I have recruiters and trainers on my team now, but they're recruiting people from technology companies like Google, Microsoft, Uber, Shopify. Like they're going to technology companies, finding people that are pretty much sick of their jobs doing high-end technical support, customer service, things like that. And then they're used to that. I call it's basically the 8 to 6 grind, because they're working mandatory overtime every day. They usually have to work 6 days a week. I know what their salary ranges are. So I come to them and my team says, hey, how would you like to do something that's really fulfilling and really fun? We'll pay you to train with us for a month, an entire month of paid training, right? Two weeks of very hardcore training, like skill set training, and then 2 weeks of shadowing and like on the job training. And we'll double your salary, sometimes triple, depending on where they're living. And you don't have to commute to work. You can work from home in your pajamas or your underwears in our case. So that's what we do. And then we train them to become virtual assistants, right? So that's the real key that I've learned, is to really find people on the skills that you can't train, which is adaptability, work ethic, reliability, and give a damn, and then teach them. If they have those qualities, you can teach them to do damn near anything, Frankie.
Yeah. That's so true, Jeff, because a lot of times, like I'd say, like maybe 5% of the time you're hiring somebody, it's for like a very specific, I need a programmer in this language, and therefore they have to come out of the box with that skill set. But 95% of the time, like at least in my experience, you're like, check my email, do this. It's so many like little odds and ends that if they can't figure things out, and I actually, part of our process for like testing that, I remember, we had somebody in our mastermind who just said they tried out 20 virtual assistants and told them, I will pay you on TransferWise, or just Wise as it's called now. And like 12 of the people couldn't figure out how to sign up for TransferWise, right? So it's like those little tests like give you indicators. If those people can't figure out how to do TransferWise, they're probably not going to figure out all the little odds and ends. But the flip side of that is you're left with 8 people who can solve problems, who can figure out basic things, and you can put them in anything and they'll be able to adapt. So I really like that.
I love how this conversation's taken a turn right now, because it's funny because this is actually our training process, not our training, our recruitment process. So our recruitment process is actually very similar to what you just said. We have an application to work for us is a test. And we have a spreadsheet, like a Google sheet that has columns, and we tell them how to separate. We give them, hey, we want you to separate these. One of the tasks, because a lot of our clients are real estate agents and things like that. So one of them is, hey, look, here's, actually, we give open-ended questions. We say we're looking for 10 real estate agents, and we give them like LA County or we give them some geographic location and say, here's a spreadsheet, fill out the spreadsheet with 10 real estate agents from this area. So we don't tell them how, we just say, here's what we want, right? So we give them different things like that to see what their ability to use Google on and their ability to like figure shit out, right? So that adaptability piece is really important. So exactly what you said is spot on. We don't even waste our time. They can't even get to an interview unless they've shown us that they can complete the test. And there's a personality test on there as well, because some people, they just don't have the right personality for a job.
Yeah.
It's just the truth.
Yeah,
people that have
included.
big egos. Now here's one of the problems. I like people with big egos. Most of the people that work for me on my leadership team, they have big egos. I like egos because I feel like, that's a really important factor of confidence and the ability to figure things out. When you have an ego, you're like, I can figure this out, right? But there is a way to kind of weed out to see like if people have a servant heart or not. Because one of the things that's really tough, and this is another reason why, going back to your original question about the Philippines, they just really, for the most part, not to generalize because they're not all like this, but they're pleasers, man. Like they want to do good work, and in my experience, I don't know if it's trained culturally or from school or from their parents or whatever, but their work ethic is really solid, and they enjoy seeing the fruits of their labor to a degree of servitude.
Yeah, that's definitely been my experience as well. Not to generalize, because you can always find exceptions to rule, but I'm sure a lot of people have experience with like Indian culture, and like a lot of the Indian culture is like kind of like say or do anything in order to get a job, but on the delivery side, it's a whole other thing, and there's lots of challenges with that. So I love that you guys are building in little tests. I've always said, for those of you guys who read my book, that don't just hand somebody a job interview, like test them to see that they actually are the things. Perry Marshall calls that kind of like a band audition, right? If you're going to go for a band, they don't say like, give me the resume of your last 5 bands. They say, let's play a song together and see how it goes. So that's the ultimate secret, really, to hiring great people. And I love that you guys have set this up for people. I would love to ask you a little 2-part question here. So we've got a whole bunch of people that are either breaking into hiring a virtual assistant for the first time, or some people who, have some on their team and understand like, what this hiring process entails, and understand like the value of somebody like you who can just save them time to have to go through this screening process. I would love to talk about, like, for our agency owners, some of the things that they can do and take off their plate that virtual assistants are really good for, because I think sometimes those relationships, why they don't succeed, is because they want somebody who can like, write the perfect marketing messages, and that's not really what a virtual assistant is. But if you want somebody to take all the little odds and ends and grunt work so you can focus on CEO work, that they're really good for that. I'd love to hear just your thoughts on some of the things that they can have these people do to make their lives easier, and some of the common things you kind of see.
Well, the first thing that I'll tell you is that the first day that an assistant works for you, or anyone that works for you, is going to be the least valuable that person's ever going to be, right? And some people don't have the patience, and actually I've made quite a lot of money. VA staffer is probably going to do 3 million this year. It did 1.8 last year. Of course, like you said, exponential growth ever since COVID. I mean, back in 2020, in the beginning of 2020, I used to have to convince people the value of hiring people remotely. Right? It's just funny to think that today
No, it's
because
really true. Like I said, I've seen law
I,
firms that in the last 2 years are asking me how to hire virtual assistants that said I would never hire somebody in the Philippines.
yeah, and quite frankly, I've never had to sell that ever again. It's just now it's just okay, cool. What makes you different from the others, So first and foremost, back to what you said, I think the important piece here is understanding what your time is worth. And I think that, most agency owners, most business owners know that they're doing a lot of things that maybe is beneath their pay grade,
Yeah.
um, and it's not even about that. It's not that someone's time is worth less than yours. It's just that us as business owners, it's very easy to get into the trappings. Oh my God, I'm going to use the most cliche thing ever. They're too busy working in the business instead of working on the business, right?
Yeah,
That's the
totally.
most cliche thing ever. The one thing, there's just so many different books and Eat That Frog, Brian Tracy. I mean, there's just so many. If you look at the biggest thought leaders, it's always about focusing on what your best use of time is. So for me, I actually have a situation right now to where I don't have anyone on my team to do a certain thing and it's coming back on me and it's frustrating. And I just told my assistant today that we either have to find someone to do it or I'm just not going to do it anymore. And one of those is I just made a Facebook post. So for those of you watching this, probably a recording, but I made a Facebook post about all the efforts I've made in the past 5 years on my own personal brand. And I do a huge content game. So for me, the number one thing that I'm doing for my business is content. I'm working with digitalmarketer.com to be I'm on their faculty. So I have a monthly blog commitment to them. I have videos that I'm doing with them in person in Austin. I'm in Austin a lot, it seems like. I'm also a contributor to entrepreneur.com. I've been featured on Entrepreneur Weekly, which is their podcast, twice. I just did their first ever episode on crypto. I was the first ever
That's
episode on
amazing, by the
crypto.
way.
Yeah, so I'm making, a lot of headway on my own brand. And the reason why I'm able to do that is because I have a team that works on my business. And I feel like most agency owners are so trapped. So what I'm going to share with you guys is a little secret, well, not so secret, of how you can start instantly doing better. Okay. And when I say doing better, I mean like destroy other people in your industry because of I'm just going to give my own personal example. I mean, this is a show me economy, right, Frankie? So here's my own example. I said earlier about how Jacqueline logs into work an hour before I even wake up. Okay. Like, it's so hard for people to even imagine how beautiful that feels when you have an assistant who starts working in your email inbox and starts going through your notifications an hour before you wake up. Because what's the first thing that you do, Frankie, when you wake up?
Well, usually in my case, I'm probably a bad person to ask. I wake up to children's fingers in my nose and things like that, and spend the next 10 minutes not wanting to be awake. But yes, like to your point, like most of us, it's
We
really
do
hard
this,
not to go into like firefighting mode on the phone. It's really, really hard not
right?
to.
The first thing we do when we wake up, we're like, oh my God, we're looking at the emails, we're looking at the notifications that come
Yeah.
in, like, oh, what's going on here, right? And so for her to go through and sort everything out for me and pulling out those 2 or 3 important things that require my attention, and the other ones she's usually got it figured out, from day one, that's not going to happen. On day one, it's like, hey, this is important, this isn't important, this is how I would respond to this, so what I do is I get on a Zoom call with my assistant, and I literally go through an entire day and say, here's what I do, right?
Yeah.
So I have her go through my emails. She manages my calendar. She sends me, hey, here's what your to-do list is for the day. And literally, so I don't know what you guys are doing as far as like, can I share my screen here?
Yeah, let's enable it here. I gotta click some buttons here. A little
I
monkey
mean,
pushing.
I
There we
think
go.
that people would get I think you guys would trip out just to see like what I've done today. And
Yeah.
this is a very light day for me, but just to
Can I
show
just
you.
add, by the way, Jeff, on that, because I think it's a really important point that for anybody who's like using like content sounds like only organic, but like even if you're using paid ads, in my experience, like 10% of it is the high level coming up with the idea, and 90% of it is execution time, like distributing content here and repackaging and editing videos and writing descriptions and thumbnails and those are all the things I think virtual assistants are badass. So you can focus on the 10, 15 minutes of really the hook and the value and the important part of it, and not the $10 an hour logging into YouTube or whatever your thing is, your Facebook ads, or however, you distribute your message and get it in front of people.
Especially for the price point. I mean, even through my own agency, VA Staffer, a part-time assistant who works 4 hours a day for you is $800 a month. And well, we might raise our rates again, but right now full-time is $1,500. I mean, to have a full-time dedicated person to you 40 hours a week for $1,500. I mean, it's just, we live in amazing times,
Yeah.
like this, it's so, and the value, I think that's why, quite frankly, why the retention rate's so high is because they know they're not going to get that level. They're not going to get that level of support for that. Not in America, at least.
Well, if you hire for $15 in America, you're a slave driver, and you're guaranteed to get a bad attitude with that. In the Philippines, you're hiring top talent that you've paid extra money to have, college graduates and things like that. By the way, feel free to share your screen. I should have enabled
All right.
it.
So this is my chat with Jacqueline. Okay. So I can see right here at 10 o'clock in the morning, she reminds me about a podcast that I have. She's actually typing to me right now. I can see the little thing right here. Yeah. She's chatting. Jacqueline's typing. She's probably reminding me about something I'm supposed to do. But I have this chat right here. So I can see here that this morning, so at 6 a.m., she's already reminding me, hey, did you get a chance to check out these slides that the team did for you? Here's my schedule for the day. She says, happy Tuesday. Here's your schedule for today. I'm on a podcast with Will Pemble today at 10 a.m. And then I have to check out some NFT art collection stuff I'm working on. And then there's you, Frankie. See that? 3 p.m. Woo. She sends me the link to it. Then she's giving me my to-do list. From yesterday, I forgot to check the Carfax report for somebody. I got to get my financial reports for January done for my other person. There's a TV segment they want me to do, more to media. So, and then here's some videos the team created for my branding agency for me to go check out. And then she's sending me screenshots because she manages my LinkedIn too. So now she's in my LinkedIn messages. Here's all the messages that come in here. She's giving me stuff. And I said, let's figure out something when I come back from Austin for one of these things. And then I'm asking her what I want to do. And basically, and now she sends me a message, here's a copywriter referral. Now she canceled another meeting on my calendar. And then Jean-Michel, one of my clients, is now wants to talk to me about setting up a CRM and putting together some sales presentations for his prospects. So this is just today. This is all the work in Headspace that I don't have to deal with because my assistant is already clearing the space for me. And she's like, hey, these are important things we need to discuss. She puts it on my to-do list. And every day in the morning, we talk about my to-do list. I start working on stuff. And then at the end of the day, we do a quick powwow, sees what I'm able to get done on my to-do list, and then reorganizes the to-do list for the next day so that I'm constantly being held accountable. Now, isn't
not just
that one of the hugest?
I just want to add real quick, like all of us have gone into the inbox and then there's like 2,700 other landmines to pull your attention away. Like that to me is like, these are the 5-10% of important things that I need to work on right now, and everything else can be like kind of put off to the side. Like if an important client is reaching out to you, that's treated differently than the 14 marketing emails that everybody subscribed to and got that day. And the Aunt Mary who thought of you and wanted to send you pictures. It's so easy to even forget why you went into the inbox in the first place. So like just having a summary of what's important, keeps you doing $1,000 an hour CEO work instead of $100 or $10 an hour email checking kind of work.
And another thing too is, the Carfax thing report, that was something from, that was from a text message that I got from this guy, David Ventura. And so basically I got approached this interesting opportunity for a guy who he's getting a new car. his lease is expiring on his 2018 Honda Civic. He's a friend of mine, and he's like, hey, interesting opportunity. I'm not going to buy this thing. I don't have 15 grand laying around to buy this car. It's not really important to me. He's like, but I looked on Carfax, found out that the car is actually worth $27,000 on today's market. I can buy this for $15,000 after the lease is up right now. So he has until like the 10th or the something and to buy the vehicle outright, and it's got like a $9,000 profit margin tacked into it. He's like, hey, why don't you and I buy it together and just resell it and we'll split the profit. Right?
Yeah,
So like just random things that pop up, like that's obviously lower on my priority list than these other client calls. So, and she knows that. And this assistant, by the way, Jacqueline, she's only been my assistant now for about 4.5, maybe 5 months. I had an assistant, her name's Isabel, and this is the beautiful thing. I want everyone to listen to this. If there's one thing you get out of this call, it's right here. The point of the assistant is not only to hold you accountable, but for someone to actually understand you, to understand your business. And this is what's really valuable, because now Isabel, who used to be my assistant for 1.5 years, up until Jacqueline took over, she's actually worked herself out of a job and basically was the most overqualified virtual assistant ever, and is now managing a part of my business. She's now taken over the recruiting and the hiring and the training and the client relations side of onboarding VAs to our clients. So now when you guys sign up at VA Staffer to become a client, Isabel does an analysis with you to find out what you are doing in your business, what you need help with. And then she's kind of like the matchmaker that puts the right person based on their personality traits, based on their skill level, based on whatever it is that you need, and put someone in there. So she's become more valuable in my business. Like I said in the very beginning, when I first said this, was that the first day that you hire this person will be the least valuable that they'll ever be.
Yeah, that is a fact.
So to summarize, my emails, my inboxes for social media, my calendar, no one gets on the calendar for me unless they go through Jacqueline, period. She's the gatekeeper, right? Like right now, she has it so that the earliest anyone can get on my calendar is March 16th, period. She knows I'm busy. I'm going to be at South by Southwest. I have a lot going on. That's it. Matter of fact, the message that you just saw earlier when I was sharing my screen was that she's basically blocked out and canceled some stuff on my calendar, right? And I can just, you know how much of a stress reliever it is to say, Jacqueline, I got to pick up my kid from school or whatever. Please rearrange the other meetings I have for the day. I'm not going to be able to make it. Yeah, and she does it all, and she coordinates it. She follows up, and she'll message them on my phone. So we use, and this is a thing that most people don't understand, is like, have your business set up in a way so that your assistant can have access to your phone. I use an app called DialPad. It's $25 a month, unlimited calls, unlimited text, and it's an app. So all she has to do is download the app on her phone or on her computer, and she has access to all my messages, all my phone calls. She can answer the phone for me. It's just like, people tell me like, what can a virtual assistant do? For me, I'm like, dude, what? I can't even imagine my life without one. Yeah. You know?
It's funny when you look back at it, because it really is like that. Like, you know, I've taken this philosophy as well, where we live in Mexico, there was part of me. So now we have, you know, a maid that comes 1 to 2 times a week. I've got a nanny a couple of times a week. I've got a gardener. And when you're first hiring these people, there's a part of you that thinks like, am I just being lazy? Am I stupid for not paying this? Give it like a couple of weeks, and when you start seeing your life being easier and you're able to do more of the high value tasks that actually produce results, and you can do them in less time, like you can actually like really have an agency where if you want to, like it's a 1 to 2, maybe 3 hour a day kind of thing to really move the needle forward. And you're mostly just making decisions. You're not like in the trenches kind of doing things. And it's once you have them for a while, like you said, Jeff, it's so damn true. You look back and go, how the fuck did I live without these people before? And
it's no lie. I mean, I have, and actually, I think in the beginning of my relationship with my business partner, Trisha, she's the creative director. She runs branded media. She's the majority partner in my branding agency. As the creative director, when she first came on board, the first thing, so basically I acquired her branding agency, but she's now running my agency. So we acquired her agency. So she came on board as my partner, and the first thing we did was buy her agency, so that she doesn't give up on her baby. So that's how that worked. She had a company called Hero Brand. But one of the things that's really interesting is that when she first came on board, she was used to working with a bunch of freelancers, and she was, doing a lot of the heavy lifting herself. And I told her, I said, look, like, you're used to making big margins because you're using freelancers, you're doing a lot of work yourself. And I said, when you work with me, I will sacrifice a margin to not be involved at all.
Yeah.
Like, and this is where that transition, I call it the BO check. Oh man, it's that transition from business operator to business owner, right? And as the business operator, you're in there, you're in the weeds, whatever. Like at VA staffer, I dedicate about 30 minutes of my day to the team, 30 minutes a day to that company. And that's from 9 a.m. to 9:30. Sometimes it runs in a little bit later. I block out a whole hour, but usually it's over by 9:30, 9:45. And that's the involvement that I have with that team, is to listen to what they need, any help I can provide. I have a sales team. I have a project manager who oversees the team, Isabel. I have a web development team leader. I have a creative design leader who also is a shared resource between branded media and VA staffer. Same with the web development person. And then guess what? I invested last year, every single one of my leadership team in the company, which by the way, are all in the Philippines, they all have their own assistant now. So all of my leadership team, who started out basically as virtual assistants, except for one guy, Julio is the only one who didn't start out as an assistant. Julio started out as sales because he came to me and said, hey, I already have an incredible job. I'm a team leader at the sales company. He's a trainer. Like, he's literally about to go on a sales training where he's leading a whole team of people on how to do sales. And he's like, I'm not looking for a job. I just love what you're doing and building. I want to be a part of it. And at the time, I didn't even have a sales position. I just said, hey, I don't have a sales spot open for you. I'm doing all the client calls, any potential clients, I can get on there and talk it up, no problem. He goes, yes. And he actually pitched to me. He says, look, I'm going to put together a presentation for you. Give me 48 hours on why you should hire me and why you're losing a lot of time and money by doing sales yourself.
That's amazing.
I say no to that offer,
I've had a few employees like that just over the years, and they're not many, but every now and then they're like, how can I not hire this person? Yeah. I think there's some real wisdom, and I find this too, like, this is true in any niche, but I think agency owners struggle with it because we tend to really care about our deliverable and things like that. But the higher you go up the wealth ladder, the less and less important making money becomes. And a lot of times too, like I see this in marketing pitches when people say, like, we're going to make you so much money and get you so much clients. That may work on the bottom segment of the market, but when you go to like a really wealthy person who has more money than what they know what to do with, they're almost always buying back time, energy, sometimes reputation, things like that. But they're far, far less interested in, like, here's how I can make $1,000. And like you said, it's a hard switch when you first do it, because you, like, the first time you do it, you, like, when you called it your BO switch or your BO check, almost always you cut into these profits that you worked really, really hard to get. But what you end up getting as a result is a much, much more scalable structure. And the hardest part to, like, I think, to wrap your head around, it's fucking better for the clients. It's like a way more consistent deal when you have somebody who can watch over that task over and over and over and be on top of it, so that you can focus on, like you said, like, working on the business rather than, being the business operator who has to run all the Facebook ads or do all the SEO or, run all the Google ads or design all the websites and those kind of things. And instead you can focus on, like you said, retaining clients. Here's the important things. Here's reducing all that firefighting in a day down to like 5 or 6 emails you got to check, and being able to be like really, really efficient, because I don't know if you guys know this, but the phone is a little bit of a distraction. And if you don't get on top of that, you can like pretty much lose a whole day scrolling and checking messages. So I love the general idea. I don't want to keep you forever because I know you're about to go take over the world at South by Southwest, but I feel like I could talk to you probably 100 times, especially because we haven't even talked about crypto or personal branding yet. Maybe I might have to bring you back on for our crypto group, because we got some people in there and talk about what you guys are doing in crypto gaming. In the meantime, can you just tell people a little bit more about VA Staffer, where they can get it, how they get it, and all that good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, vastaffer.com. Looking back, I didn't know anything about SEO back when I started this company. Back in 2012, 2013, when I started having the idea, I was working as a Fortune 500 project manager, and I was not an entrepreneur. And I started building out my own little virtual assistant for my corporate job. I started doing really well. I became a top 5 project manager at Philips Electronics within about 12 months of getting my own assistant, and was getting a lot of visibility. I was a young guy. I was early 30s when that happened, and I started realizing, hey man, I was onto something with this whole virtual assistant thing. And some of my colleagues asked, hey, can you help me find a VA for myself? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I started helping people out. And one of my colleagues came to me and said, okay, so you're kind of like the VA staffer. And I was like, yeah, okay. So I went to GoDaddy, typed in vastaffer.com, and it was available, and I bought it. I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about being an agency. All I knew is it was a funny name, and it took me 3 years to rank for that, by the way, because there were so many scandals at the VA, the Veterans Affairs Office, that it was like VA staffer leaked something, So, but in all reality, VA staffer is like I said, try it for yourselves, guys. Book a strategy call and talk to Julio, because Julio's the guy who you're going to talk to, and you're going to see. Julio obviously won me over, and he's now working at the company for many years. But the way we position it is we do a free strategy call where you get on the call, you talk about what you're looking for help with. Julio and Nicole, those are the ones on the call. Their job isn't to sell you. Their job is to disqualify you. You're probably not a good fit. Maybe you might be a good fit. I don't know. But the reason why we have a high retention rate, and Frankie, this is gold for everyone too, is do every call coming in skeptical to work with that person and skeptical to take that person's money.
Yeah.
Right? And say, am I really the right fit? And we only accept people that we know are a good fit. And I think that's one of the problems agencies struggle with, is that they're always trying to find new clients because they accept clients that aren't a good fit, and they end up failing. And 30 to 90 days later, they got to find a new client. And that sucks.
Yeah. Usually if you look at most people's criteria, it's the credit card with legs. That's pretty much, they have to be in my niche, and they have to have a credit card, and they have to have legs. If they got those 3 things, I'm in. But if you do that for like a year or two, what you'll find is exactly what you said. Every 30 to 90 days, you're replacing them, which means more chasing, more sales, more proposals, more marketing, more all those things. If you said like what you do, I always say like there's a hidden metric in all of it, which is, are the right people coming out the other side? Because if you focus on that, you look at the totality of the whatever system or funnel you're creating, and instead of just trying to like get raw numbers. Because I always say this, like, I see all the time people posting like screenshot sales made. And I just know from experience, having worked with a lot of those people and having been there myself, they don't tell you about the refund that client is demanding 60 days later, and the Stripe dispute they got, and how their whole shit got shut down, or how they were just a bad client. They blame me for not getting enough. They're all bad leads and all those kind of things. And the more you focus on this right fit, what ends up happening is initially your agency will grow slower, and so it'll look like you're not making as much progress. But what ends up happening is you build a way more sustainable thing. And so what ends up happening is your revenue starts building up month after month because you're not constantly rebuilding it every 30 days. Like I say, like in our mastermind, the average person's keeping people about 2 years. In fact, Justin just posted a screenshot of his average client is like $400,000 in Stripe, which I just thought is fucking mind blowing. You know, how many $400,000 clients do you really need? And what ends up happening is you actually start to build some momentum. So I love that focus of like really focusing on, are we the right people, are we the right fit, because I think it makes it better for everybody. And I would just like to add, if you guys check out Jeff's stuff, we've got a couple of bonus SOPs, standard operating procedures, in the members area that I'm happy to throw in as a bonus for you guys if it it makes sense for you guys to work together, because it'll help you get your virtual assistants up to speed on tasks. If you can say, here's what I need you to do. So I'm happy to throw those in. It's just me rambling on a Loom video telling them how to do basic things, but if you need those things, I'm happy to throw those in. It's no real extra work for
Why,
me.
thank you, Frankie. That's nice. And you know, let me end with this criteria of what usually doesn't work, because you said you were interested in those 3% that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Okay. Technically 2.86%. Of people that didn't work out. All right. So the people that don't work out are the ones that aren't really committed, aren't giving their time. They're what I like to call too busy to get unbusy, right? So the people who have a hard time delegating because they fall into the illusion that they don't have time.
Yeah.
Which is a
it's just
very
easier to do
easy
it
excuse,
myself.
by the way. It's a very easy excuse, by the way. Every entrepreneur goes in and at Thanksgiving or Christmas, they see their family members they haven't seen all year, and they come in there and they say, "Hey, Jeff, how's life, man? Frankie, how you doing over there?" And you know what we do? "Oh man, life's so good. I'm so busy." Like it's a badge of honor. Like, man, I'm so busy, you
Yeah.
know? If you're one of those people, probably not great. I mean, and genuinely, if you are busy, obviously we can help, but you got to help yourself. So, as the old saying goes, help me help you. You got to be able to have some patience and sit down. Our team is trained to do from day one executive assistant stuff. So admin work, they can help you do DocuSign stuff. They can help you do emails. They can help you manage your inbox on LinkedIn. They can help you do prospecting on LinkedIn. They're all trained how to use Sales Navigator. So there you go. From day one, they can actually add value to your business by helping you find prospects. They're also trained on how to do Canva stuff, although they're not graphic design artists, but they can use templates, which you can buy online and have them swap out text and stuff to help you get ahead of your social media responsibilities. They're taught how to manage Facebook groups and how to like accept people in and welcome people and things like that. So, there's a huge, I guess, you can call it a wide variety of things that they're taught from over that training period that I said that support about 90% of business functions for busy leaders, for executives, for founders, CEOs. That's who we really target. So the people that don't really work out are just the ones who they're not committed to actually delegating stuff, and they don't have the patience to do it. That is my biggest.
Can I just add on that real quick? It's like usually comes down to a simple question. Do you want to go faster today, or do you want to go further? And if you want to go further, then you got to get it off your plate. If you want to go, shorter in the immediate short term, then by all means don't delegate it, but you'll limit yourself to 40 to 80 hours a week of output, which is all you can ever do by yourself.
With that said, I want to throw this out there. It took me almost 7 years to get to $1 million. And it was a struggle, trying to make things work. But what's really interesting was that once it was about 850,000 mark. When I hit the 850,000 mark, and I was like, it was already writing was on the wall that next year was going to be $1 million. I was like, holy crap. Like there was this snap in there. And the realization is that, yeah, I'm going to go from a 40% margin to a 25% margin or something like that. Right now I'm sitting about a 30% margin. But now I'm not as involved. And I know it's hard, but it's hard, Frankie, right? It's hard to see it until you've reached there. It's hard to see the freedom until you've reached there. So I would definitely start thinking about like, what are the repetitive things on your plate that you need to get off? Like, because that is one of the best investments that you'll ever make in yourself, because if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant.
Yeah, exactly. There is an assistant in your business. It's just you. And you're probably not being paid fair, equal value on your time on those kind of things.
That assistant inside of me is always ready to quit.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're entrepreneurs. We're chronically fucking unemployable, and a lot of us are, crypto people and investors and things like that. So, like, we built this kind of business because we can't work 9 to 5, right? We need to be free. We need to have those things. So, if you sign up for all the 9 to 5 kind of tasks in your business, and another thing I would like to add just really quickly is, like, it took me a lot of years to realize all the things you hate, somebody else loves doing. And so, like, you're actually, like, you're making two people miserable because there's somebody else who would love to do all the things that, like, you just fucking hate. Like, for me, I hate ads managers. Doesn't matter which one it is. Like, we use a few of them, but I just hate staring at the tech and putting in numbers. But I actually really enjoy writing ads. So to me, like, I write up ads and scheme them by hand, and then I give them to my virtual assistants to actually input them into the system. And for me, it's like, it's a way better way to split test when I can, like, split test from a notepad and send them a little image or something like that, than have to actually, like, just like going into Zuckerberg's system and page managers and pixels and all of that. Like, I'd rather.
Well, that's some value that you could add to me, Frankie, because we don't have any SOPs for ad agencies. So, like, whatever you've got your VAs doing in the ad stuff, like, yeah, dude, send them over, because we're trying to build a directory right now. It's called virtualassistantcourses.com. If you go there, there's nothing there. I've owned the domain for years and I haven't done anything with it. But I'm finally, actually today on this morning's call with my leadership team, I finally said, okay, fine, we're going to do it. And I hired somebody. Her name's Chizzy, and she's going to actually work on, it's going to be a two-sided platform. One side is teaching people how to be an effective virtual assistant. So that's like for the Filipinos and the actual VAs and things like that. The other side is going to be for us leaders on how to actually build our businesses in such a way that can support the remote growth, that can support the VAs, and how to actually build meaningful relationships so that you have a retention rate. Here's a retention rate that I didn't even say. My team retention rate. My team retention rate and my client retention rate are the same.
Yeah.
Because that's just as important. You're going to lose a client if you have a really good team member that's built a good relationship with the client, and then that VA leaves, and then they're like, you get a new VA, and they're like, you know what? I spent all that time with that VA. I'm out of here. And that's the other reason, by the way, the 2.86% or whatever. It's because I wasn't either able to retain talent. So over the past year, I've just made all sorts of changes internally to reward our team members. We've removed a bunch of the cap. We used to have salary caps. We don't even have caps anymore. It's like, dude, if you keep doing a great job, I'm going to go out to Frankie, our client Frankie here, and say, hey, Frankie, your assistant Roselle's been doing a fantastic job. And pretty much if we give her any more money, we're not making any profit here. For retention purposes, I think it would be very valuable for us to come up with a pass-through raise or bonus where, we'll just put a 35% fee on top of it. You want to give her $100 a month raise, we charge you $135. Everybody's happy. She's going to be thrilled. She's going to stay with you for life. And if somebody doesn't agree with that, they're not the types of people I want to work with anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not in it for the long term and you're just trying to make a quick buck, you're really in the wrong business, because you'll
go on Fiverr.
You'll make yourself fucking miserable with this business. It's definitely
go on Upwork and hire 10 VAs and figure out which one's going to work. If you don't want to work with me, because that's what you're going to have to do.
Yeah, and there's definitely more hit than miss. And I just want to add, like, really quickly, we're way over time here, but just wanted to add, like, be a good boss to people. It's such an underrated thing, because these people end up being like family. You'd be amazed. Like, I'm sure everybody who's had a virtual assistant has done something like this, where, like, you accidentally overpay like $100 and you pay them double or something for the week. And then they come back and they send you this picture of, like, them and their 100 family members who all partied on your dime, and they had this great festival. I've had things like that happen. And the two biggest reason why people leave, by the way, if you ask employers, they'll say, oh, it was money. Money was the reason they left. And the two biggest things they'll say is, my direct boss was an asshole and nobody ever appreciated me. So if you want to keep people and have this be a long time, appreciate your people, and let them know they're doing a good job and those kind of things. And you'd be
And pay
amazed
them
that
well.
these people will end up being like family for you.
Pay them, appreciate them, treat them well. And the other thing too is, and this you want to talk about overlooked, but have structure it so that they see a long-term growth path with you. Like, don't make them feel like this is just a stop along the way of their career. Make them feel like you want to be a part of their career development, and how can we grow that? I want them to see opportunities within the company. Like Isabel, who used to be my assistant, now she's the project manager. She's making double what she made as my assistant. So give people an opportunity. People that want opportunities will take them.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jeff, I don't want to keep you anymore because I could probably talk
Thank
to
you,
you for
sir.
about 3-4 hours, but I hope you have an awesome, amazing day dominating South by Southwest.
Yeah, I'm here
VAstaff.com.
in my hotel room, spending my last few moments before I head out to the airport. So thank you so much, man.
Yeah, appreciate it, brother. And thanks, Jacqueline, for making it happen, since she's the one who actually did all the work.
She did.
Take care, guys. And if you're interested, by the way, just if you guys are interested, like I said, we've got our SOPs sitting around in the members area of our mastermind. I'm happy to throw those in. So if you guys are interested in checking out Jeff, just let me know and I will include those things. So much love to you guys, and may the force be with you.